Welcome to this week's Who's the Champ? I'm your host, Chris Hounds, man. And let me tell you something. Y'all followed my journey, from starting this podcast from almost a year ago to bringing Court Bauer on the show. And then some of y'all have saw my transition into actually starting to work for Major League Wrestling. And when I first got into it, there was one thing that I wanted to do. There was one gentleman that I knew that was with the company, and I followed his career from the WWE. I saw a little bit in SCW. I had to bring him on. I've been trying to bring him on for a while, and our schedules finally equaled up. But you know what? Finally, y'all know him as Ricardo Rodríguez, but to me, it is Jesús Rodríguez. Welcome to Who's the Champ? How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for having me on. I know, as you said, we've been trying to make this happen for a minute, and the minute has arrived.
It has. It absolutely has. So we're going to jump right into it. So where did it all begin for you?
Oh, I mean, I can go back to the actual stem and the root of how it began, and it goes back to me being in Mexico and just watching lucha libre with my cousins and my uncles, my grandparents. That's like the base root of it, and then just seeing the pageantry and the beauty of lucha libre is what really what really captivated me to like this whole industry and the sport. And eventually I came to the US, and I kind of, that love for the American side of pro wrestling kind of started in maybe, what was it, 2001, 2, around that time frame. And just watching guys like, Jeff Hardy and Chris Jericho and Rey Mysterio really got me back into it. And I've said it before too, like the match that really made me go, hey, I want to try this was WrestleMania 17. It was a TLC match with the Hardys, Edge and Christian, and the Dudleys. And the specific moment was when Jeff Hardy was hanging from the title and he got speared by Edge. That was like that moment that I was like, I wanna do this.
Absolutely. And I know the moment you're absolutely talking about. Did you, I'm guilty of it. Me and you are closer, we're close in age. So did you do any backyard wrestling, because we tried that in the backyard, and my body's worse for wear for that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I used to do it in my house with my friend Kevin Gutierrez. We had no idea what we were doing. Eventually, we found a organization, a group of backyard wrestling fed in the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles, and they were called BBWEWA, not that BBW, and it was Beyond Backyard Wrestling. So I joined them. They had an old boxing ring that they had kind of transformed into a wrestling ring. So we kind of, quote unquote, learned how to bump and how to run the ropes. And how we would call the matches is that we would watch a match from TNA, from the X Division, and we would emulate it move for move, and we would practice that for like a whole month before we would actually go and perform it in one of our backyard shows. So I did backyard wrestling. I'm very guilty of it. And it was a learning experience, and I would go back and watch some of the footage of it back then, and I realized that I didn't know anything at all. And it was terrible. It was terrible, but I had fun doing it.
I absolutely, and I was the guy that I studied wrestling. I studied the art of it, being from Charleston, South Carolina, I grew up with the MWA. So I studied Ric Flair. I studied, Manny Fernandez. I studied them all. So they're like, well, Chris, you know all this, so you could teach us how to do it. Well, I was a 300-pound kid that just picked up the little one that just slammed him on the ground. My friend's mom had dents in her yard, and she's just like, you're going to pay for this eventually. But, we were talking about earlier, you were talking about your start watching Lucha Libre wrestling. With the expansion of AAA now being with the WWE, a lot of American fans now are seeing Lucha Libre at first. So if fans haven't really seen Lucha Libre, what would be the difference between Lucha Libre and American style wrestling?
I want to say there's I think Chris Hero was the one that kind of put it out in a really amazing way. Was Lucha Libre is about the beauty of the pageantry that just kind of makes Lucha Libre, and and I know there's a lot more to it, but just to kind of sum it up in that one quick little phrase, And I think I agree with that. It's the pageantry of wrestling, the beauty, the aesthetic, the athleticism that comes with the sport that we all love, and just the colors, the masks, the capes, the high flying. It's so beautiful to watch, especially when it's done right. I do want to say that lucha libre is an art form, and it's beautiful.
You know, you talk about the pageantry and you talk about the mask. And one of, you know, a lot of American fans that when they think about lucha libre, especially the old school style, Mil Maskers
Mhm.
comes up. Like just the mask that he had, and just like, and I loved as youngsters, he would always just rip it off, rip it off, rip it off. And to me, that's just absolutely amazing. So now going into your career, you started. Who were you trained by? If I read correctly, were you trained by Gangrel?
So Gangrel was definitely one of my trainers coming up. He was the last trainer I had before I got signed to WWE. But my original trainer was this luchador by the name of Latigo Blanco. He was my original trainer, and he is the guy that I owe so much of me to. So he taught me, the fundamentals of lucha libre, because I started in Mexican lucha libre first. That's how I
Mhm.
started, and it took a while before I transitioned over to the American side. But Latigo Blanco was my trainer, and I'm forever grateful. I don't have his mask here. I wrestled him finally after like 20 years. I wrestled him last year, and I gave him one of my masks, and he gave me one of his. So I have it here in my office as like an exchange of a thank you. Um, and it's similar to, like, well, in some sports, in soccer specifically, players would trade jerseys
Jersey.
as,
Yeah.
a symbol of appreciation and respect. So that's what I did with my trainer. So I'm forever grateful for him. He used to beat the living dog crap out of us at training, but there was so much that I learned from that, though, and I'm forever grateful for that. And I look back now, and I get the idea and the understanding that he was trying to get us to get. So I'm 1,000% all for it. But yeah, he gave me my first there's a lot that, oh, let me backtrack. So
Mhm.
my first official match wasn't with him, but my first official match outside of the other students was with him. So, and then the original gear that I had was given to me by him. That was like my little graduation gift. Was he gave me a set of gear. It consisted of a lot of his older stuff, but it was my first official gear. And the first title that I won it off of him. So it was like the cruiserweight title, and that was like his blessing for me to go. All right, you're free to go and then explore and then do whatever you want. So we never had official, like, a certificate. We never had a graduation per se. It's like his form of saying, "Hey, you're good to go," was he gave me his blessing because I won the title off of him, and he gave me his gear, one of his older gears. So I'm 1,000% Latigo Blanco. I'm his. I'm his. And then later on, when I switched over to the American side, I was training with these Southern California luchadors named Los Luchas. So it's Phoenix Stars, Zocre, Nemesis, and they used to wrestle at PWG. Zocre now is one of the trainers at the Santino Brothers in LA,
Okay.
who Zocre helps train. Like I said, the Santino brothers. He's in with Ray Phoenix a lot. So yeah, so Zocre is still going, and he's one of my secondary, third, fourth coaches. And after a while, that's when I went over to Knox Pro, and I was learning under Orlando Jordan and Gangrel before I got
Oh,
signed.
oh wow.
Yeah.
So how did you get in with Florida Championship Wrestling?
So when I went to FCW, it was based off of a tryout that I did with WWE. So my story with getting signed is very different than a lot of folks. It's not your traditional way of how you go about the system. I did a tryout in August of 2010 at the Staples Center, and it was a pro wrestling tryout. So I had gotten the opportunity from Jesse Hernandez, who is one of the legendary names in Southern California. So he gave me a tryout. I did the tryout. We did like man in the middle for like 3 hours, and then we did matches for another 2 hours. It was a whole long day. And at the end of it, it was myself and this other kid, and he used to go by the name of Mercurio Jr. After the we had our final match, I get pulled aside by Ty Bailey, who was the the scout, the talent relations guy at the time, and he basically had not necessarily offered me a contract, but he was asking me questions that were alluding to that.
Mhm.
Eventually, I got offered the deal, and then I got sent over to Florida. So I did my time in Florida, but before I got sent to Florida, I was already offered the WWE contract as Alberto Del Rio's personal ring announcer, and that was offered to me on the spot because they were looking for somebody to do that gig the next day in Bakersfield, California. So I went and I did that. They liked it. They offered me the opportunity to do it again in Fresno the next day on a Wednesday, and I went and I did that. And then right there, they signed me on the spot as Ricardo Rodriguez. And then the following week, I was in Boston, and it just went from there.
So, did a lot of WWE fans realize that once you stepped in the ring later on, you were in a Royal Rumble, which we could talk about that card that you came out in. Were they shocked that you actually wrestled, or did a lot of people think that you were just a ring announcer?
I think a lot of people knew or just thought that I was just a ring announcer. The only people that were there during my tryout were Jamie Noble, Matt Sydal, and who else was there? Tyson Kidd. Those are the only ones
Okay.
that were there for the tryout. So those are the only people that saw me wrestle. Um, and so when I started doing the bits, obviously in the beginning, I wasn't getting into the ring because obviously I'm the newbie. I'm just waiting my turn until I'm given the permission to get in, right?
Hmm.
So in the beginning, I wasn't getting in until we were running our spot, and even in the beginning, they didn't know anything about me. The office didn't know anything about me, so they saw me do the ring announcing thing, and that's all they knew that I thought. That's all they thought that I knew how to do. Little by little, they started giving me little things to do. I took the 619, which the very first day, and I tell the story all the time was um, the very first time I was gonna take 619, I was marking out like a little beach. Um, and I kept telling myself as I'm in position, I was like, "Don't put your hands up. Don't put your hands up." So when I go and I take the 619, and Ray's knee brace got me right in the face, and I learned after that, all right, kind of how to go with it and then how to put my hand up. But little, like I said, little by little, they were putting me into different situations and scenarios, and then I was just doing them. I was getting beat up by Ray. I was getting hit by Kane, by Edge, Christian, whoever maybe that was in that spot, and I was just selling for them. And then they started realizing, hey, does this guy have any kind of training? And then eventually, they asked me, and I told them that I've been wrestling for X amount of time. I started getting into the ring more often. I started moving around, so they were visually seeing me wrestle with like extras that were just around that I happened to know. And then they're like, "Oh, he actually might know something." And just went from there.
So, what is the story behind everyone? And I don't remember the year. Everybody was watching the Royal Rumble, and all of a sudden,
2012.
oh yeah. So we hear Del Rio's music play, and then all of a sudden, you come out. Was there a joke behind this, or was this
Sort
what was
of.
the story behind it?
Yeah, sort of. So Alberto had gotten hurt in December of that year, and actually we were in Philadelphia when he got hurt. He took a bad bump, and then he tore a ligament, so he needed to be off for a little bit. And then obviously because he was off, I was off. Um,
Mhm.
and there was this FCW show that we were in Tampa, and after the show, a bunch of us went to go eat to a cheesecake factory, and we saw. I know it got blurry. Sorry. We
No.
saw Pat Patterson, who was also there, and I went up to him, and he was at the bar, and then I went up to out of courtesy, and sat with him, chatted with him for a little bit, and he had asked me about Alberto, how he was doing, and I said, "Oh, he's doing fine, X, Y, Z, whatever," and then I just jokingly said, "Hey, wouldn't it be funny if at the Rumble we play his music and I come out?" We laugh, nothing comes of it, we leave it alone. uh Fast forward to maybe a couple weeks, we were in Dallas, and we get stuck at the airport because of a storm or something. I'm sitting next to Malenko, and again we're just talking whatever, and then I just bring it up again jokingly. I was, hey, wouldn't it be funny if at the Rumble we play Alberto's music and his I come out? Again, we laugh about it, we don't think anything of it, we leave it. The day of the Rumble happens, and I'm ringside, and I'm just sitting there, just hanging out, having my coffee, and then Michael Hayes comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, did you see your car?" And I had no idea what he was talking about. I thought he was talking about my rental, that something had happened to it. So I'm going to panic mode. And I was like, no, what happened? He's like, your car, did you not see it? And I was like, no. And he's like, come here. And I'm freaking out because I thought that something had happened to my rental. So we get behind the curtains, behind the stage, and then I see this car that's covered up. And then he's like, your car. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he pulls the cover off, and it's that car from the Rumble. And I'm just staring at it like it's not clicking in my head. And I guess that's when he realized that I had that confused, like, that confused puppy look. And he's like, did nobody tell you? And I'm like, tell me what? He's like, you're in the Rumble. I'm like, what? And then it just clicked in my head. I was like, oh man, no way. So yes, it started off as a joke, and then it wasn't a joke. And it just kind of went from there.
So how did it actually feel, to be in the Rumble? I mean, you've been inside of the ring. I know you've done battle royals before, but like to actually be in the middle of the Royal Rumble and be a main character in it.
It was surreal. I mean, I look back at it every now and then when I get nostalgic, and it was unreal. Just that feeling, and then just the music starts, you get the crowd reaction, and everybody's just like cheering and laughing or not laughing, but they're cheering, and then they see me come out, and then they start laughing. And I'm like, ah, oh, man, bummer. Okay, but then I come out of the car, and then they start cheering again, and you can hear them chant my name, and that's just one of those moments. You're like, man, this is cool. I get in the ring, and then standing across from me is Justin Gabriel. It's Cody Rhodes, and then Mick Foley. You know, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. You're in there with, three of the greatest, right there with Mick Foley, Cody Rhodes, and Justin Gabriel. A lot of wrestlers don't get the chance to transition from, ring announcing to wrestling to even to the commentator booth.
Yeah.
You've had the chance of actually doing that because, I mean, in this business, you got to have a gift of gab somewhat, but like the transition to the commentators booth, you could talk for, 2-3 minutes straight or 10 minutes at a promo, but like doing an actual commentator booth is a totally different beast. Talking for 2 hours straight. What was your transition like going into that?
I was hesitant about it because I did not want to do that. But I did not realize that the office was trying to give me something to do. So in a sense of trying to save my job, they were giving me something to do. And I didn't see it that way. Like at the time they had already taken me away from Alberto. So I was already, separated from him, and I wasn't doing anything. I was doing backstage interviews, and even then I didn't care about it. So I wasn't putting my full effort into it. And I've mentioned in the past in other interviews where I regret that. I didn't realize that the office was giving me so many opportunities to succeed, and I just wasn't seeing it that way. I was so full of my own ego at the time that no, I want to be in the ring. I want to be, in front of everybody. But I didn't see it as an opportunity that I was being presented by the office, and I screwed that up. I will 100,000% take accountability for that being my fault that I didn't take advantage of that position, um, and that's on me. That's on me. Ultimately, obviously, I left the company, and life kind of took a certain different turns, and I went a certain way. But it is what it is, and I live and we learn. Thankfully, I'm still here and I'm still alive. Versus the alternative, and I have a second chance to kind of redeem myself the last couple of years that I've been able to rise back up and then do some cool stuff now with Major League Wrestling.
Absolutely. Let's since you brought it up, let's talk about Major League Wrestling, especially here in Charleston. Earlier last year, Court Bauer on my show announced that he was moving the headquarters to Charleston.
Yeah.
And it was just a fluke thing that MLW put out this thing about they were coming to Charleston. I'm like, oh, more wrestling. I never turned down more wrestling. I was able to have them on the show from C.W. Anderson, and I got the chance to interview one of my idols, Arn Anderson.
Yeah.
That was so cool. And so I started seeing everything that was going on. And I heard about MLW, some of the people that came through, but I didn't realize the lineage of MLW till I came to that first show that was at the Charleston Music Hall. When you joined Major League Wrestling, did you know about the history of MLW, or was it something that you learned on the way?
No, I knew of MLW. I was very aware of MLW. I think much like a lot of folks, I didn't know to the full extent of the lineage of MLW. I knew where it came from. I knew the long longevity that it's had, the lineage of the 25, 26 years, I think at this point now. So I knew of that. I knew many of the folks because when I was in Orlando, they had restarted. I think at the Pulse nightclub. I think anyway, so around that time frame, so when they restarted back there, they had guys like Swerve, Ricochet, those guys that were in Orlando. So I was aware of them. I always had hoped I would, either be in the ring with them at some point. I didn't see myself at the time being in the position I am now. So I'm 1,000% grateful for that opportunity, especially given what had happened, previous years to me in my personal life, and then how to, you fall and then you get back up, and then you find something that you're able to kind of that helps you rebuild. And MLW was that for me. So I'm very grateful for MLW and Court and the entire team.
Absolutely. And with MLW, and so far it might be other companies that you've done this well, you're pulling, some nights you're pulling double duty. I had the pleasure to work alongside you earlier this month. And, seeing you agent a match, seeing you actually out there with Don Gatto and everything when you first came to Charleston and everything. How does it feel to actually be a participant in the show and also getting a chance to guide the young talent that's going through MLW right now?
It's a rewarding feeling to be able to kind of help out the younger talent. I look back at the people that helped me out, and a lot of times, obviously, and I was guilty too of just being that naive youngster that I thought I knew it all until like the vet or the OG would tell me, "Hey, don't do that or do this. Try it this way." And it wasn't them trying to gatekeep anything. It was just them sharing their
Right.
knowledge. And at the time, I didn't see it that way for a lot of people, right? And then obviously I had awesome people that were guiding me through the way, and I listened to them. Or people would tell me things and I wouldn't get it until I saw it happen. And I was like, oh, that's what they meant. Or Arn was one of our agents for so many years in WWE. So I got to sit under his learning tree. And somebody like Arn and Malenko were like my two that I would always go to, and I would just ask him questions. Always respectfully. I was like, hey, why did you book it this way? And then, or why did you put this spot there instead of that? Or whatever, just to kind of get their understanding of the why. The how is easy. You pick them up, you slam them down, and that's it.
Right.
But why are you doing this? And then Arn and Malenko would always just kind of take their time and explain the idea behind what they were doing. And again, most of the time I'd be like, okay, I think I get it. But then I saw it happen. I'm like, oh, that's what they meant. I get it. I get it. I saw it happen. I see the reaction. And right, so that's information I was able to take in, and that's information I was able to retain. So that when I come across a situation like that, I'm like, oh, I remember that thing that I did with Arn or Malenko or Jamie Noble or Vince or Triple H, whatever, and I can apply it here. Obviously, working with people like John Cena, with CM Punk, Taker, Lesnar, Kane, Christian, Edge, Ray, Randy, right? The amount of knowledge that we were able to take in was amazing. So now I take that information and I'm able to push that down, and then help out the younger talent. So that's what I love about what I do now as an agent. That's what I love about now being a trainer here at Three Legacies Wrestling. So it has a lot of perks. All that information that I was able to attain for so many years. What I do now is not something that will just happen overnight. What I do now is a culmination of 20 years worth of work that I'm able to process and then pass that information on.
I love how you because I literally was about to transition to Three Legacy Wrestling, so I'm glad that you brought it up. So tell everyone what Three Legacy Wrestling is. I know it's your training academy and everything, and you're the head trainer for it. And I was lucky enough to meet some of your students, and the respect and the ability that I've seen these. I'm gonna call them. I'm starting to be the old man now, so like
Even though
these kids. Yeah, these kids, and just see, I had the pleasure of working side by side, all of them, a few weeks ago. And just from the outside looking in, what a great crop of kids you have there. So how did Three Legacy come to be?
So something that was I've operated schools and throughout the US and then in different countries. I opened up the pro wrestling industry in India. I did something in Egypt for a year. I did stuff in Australia, England, Germany, Spain, Mexico. So I've operated schools for other people in the past, and something that I was very open about was for a good amount of time, I felt it hard into alcohol and drug addiction. So through that process, I basically lost it all, right? I ended up coming up to rehab here in Lancaster, PA for Blueprints for Addiction Recovery. And the owner of Blueprints, his name is Chris Dreisbach. He was a big wrestling fan, and we spent a lot of time together. And then he was asking me what I wanted to do after I got out of rehab. And I told him, I was like, man, I could probably just go back to Egypt, and start that back up. And then just out of one of those just throwaway questions was like, well, why don't you just open up your own? And then I'm like, well, I don't know how to. And he's like, I'll help you. So he helped me with the initial setup of the startup of Three Legacies Wrestling. And for the last, it's gonna be 4 years in September. It's gonna be 4 years in September that we've had it going. And in the last 4 years, it's been an amazing journey. Stressful as all hell. Stressful as all hell because then you run a pro wrestling school and a promotion, and then also too at the same time managing the real shoot job and then managing the real life and then managing MLW. So it's a whole lot of stuff that's kind of putting it together, and then just trying to find a balance between all of it. So that's a bit of a struggle sometimes. But honestly, it's been a blessing. It's been a blessing, and I mentioned it the other day on social media that one of the biggest blessings that I was very grateful for in the last 2 years or so was being able to take my Three Legacy students to MLW, getting some of them, matches, getting them on camera, getting them behind the scenes, getting them hired by the company. Whether it was Zoe Cannon or Jace Hawthorne, and Myers and a couple of the guys and guys like
Mhm.
that were on the previous tapings, like Lady Glory, Jay, Bro Keller, those guys, right? So I'm proud of that. I'm proud to have been able to give them that avenue for them to move forward with their careers. Ultimately, what they do from there, it's up to them. But I gave them that initial, hey, there it is. So that's been one of the biggest blessings, being able to take them up with me, and not just that though, but also giving them that opportunity to travel internationally. We did a show in Rome, Italy, in January, and I took some of the guys
Oh,
over there.
wow.
We have two others that have been going over to South Korea. They went to Chile, and then in October we're going to England. And then I have this deal right now in Pakistan. So coming up either at the end of this year or next year, we're gonna go to Pakistan. So, and that's all just something that I was very thankful that through my sobriety and then just starting up this whole thing of Three Legacies, we were able to build something and build an entity that's been not just regional but also international at this point.
That is awesome. I did not know about all that. I had to ask. You don't have. I know most teachers don't have their favorites, but who do you think is going to be your breakout star from Three Legacy? I know you probably have your
The one that
favorites.
listens.
The one that
The
listens,
one that listens, the
exactly.
one that gets out of his own way or their own way.
Yeah.
The biggest thing with a lot of times is people get in their own heads and they get their own in their own way. And I was guilty of it. I'm prime
Mhm.
example. I had it all and I lost it all because of me. Nobody else but me. I got in my own way. So it's a matter of also too is of those that get to listen to my story of how I got there, how I lost it, how I rebuilt, and then they're able to apply that upon themselves. Because I can guide them as much as I can, but ultimately it's up to them.
Absolutely. So you're talking about your journey and everything, and in my research and everything, um, was there a documentary that's in post production right now of your journey?
Yeah, so we started it, and then just somewhere along the way, like this Three Legs just really kicked off.
Hmm.
And so we kind of put that to the side and we just forgot about it over like the last 2 years. Um, yeah, this whole thing with Three Legs is honestly has really picked up, and I'm grateful for that. I'm beyond grateful for that. We got to the point where we're not just here in Lancaster. We started moving out to different cities around the area. So if anybody out there knows, PA, so we're on the central eastern side. So we're not just in Lancaster, we're in Lebanon, we're in Harrisburg, we're in Reading, we're up in Hazleton. We might be going up to Scranton. We did Pittsburgh last year. And then, like I said, not just that though, international. So we have visibility in Chile, in South Korea, in Thailand, in England, and Italy. So and that's the overall goal at the end of this. And then eventually, I would love to maybe one day do something with MLW as a co-brand. I don't know, right? That Dare to
Yeah.
dream.
Yeah, you never know. So we're getting close to the end and everything, and I like to have a little fun. Just asking a few questions. So with you having the lucha libre background in your mind, who's the greatest luchador ever?
Oh man. So I would go in two different ways of it. Well, different ways. I'll give my Mount Rushmore of luchadors instead, because I think to pinpoint one is difficult.
Okay.
I will
Okay.
always say El Santo, with an asterisk of Blue Demon underneath it, because El Santo needed Blue Demon. So he needed that villain, right? And then Blue Demon was that guy for him.
Hmm.
So El Santo, Mil Máscaras, because Mil Máscaras was the first guy that transitioned over to the US. But El Santo was the OG that made it a mainstream thing. I'll always put Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio was that guy that just transcends into everybody and everything. And one of the most popular masks that you'll ever see out there is a Rey mask, and then
Yeah.
you'll see it everywhere. Um, Eddie Guerrero will definitely be on that because he encapsulated the style of lucha libre, the style of the Japanese, the style of the American. So Eddie will always be there for me. And then my last and final one will be Místico.
Oh,
Hands down, Místico. And that's not a bias.
seeing.
That's not a bias. That's not because
Yeah.
like we've worked 1,000 times together and I love him, but like obviously he's the guy. And then he's not just the guy right now in Mexico. He's the guy everywhere. He sells out arenas.
He's the definition of a curtain crowd is what I call it. Because like seeing him live
Right?
is totally different.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in the crowd when I saw him win the Opera Cup
Mhm.
for the second time, and then I had the chance to be backstage and actually see him through the curtain. Like I'm supposed to be doing a job, and I'm like peeking through the curtains. Like I just can't keep my eyes off him.
Yeah.
Like he absolutely
He has
mystical.
that. He
Oh,
has that presence, and he has that essence of him.
the, exactly. Especially when you meet him, he has that aura. It just takes up a room.
Oh yeah.
Um, in your mind, what is your greatest accomplishment in wrestling?
Something that I've said in the past, and it's a video that I saw was great men plant seeds for trees that they know they'll never sit under its shade. And I think that's what I'm doing now. I'm planting something. I'm creating something that I hope that when I'm done and gone, people will be able to have success off of it. And it doesn't have to be through legacies in a sense of the name itself, but it's more so what we've built. Um, a good friend once told me a long time ago that one day we're all going to be gone, and the only thing that we're leaving behind are memories. And I hope that my memories are good. Um,
Right.
there's that bit with Robin Williams that he says at some point. I don't know how much value I have in this universe, but I know that I've made a couple people happy, and so long as I know that, I've had a good life. So I'm as rich as I could
Absolutely.
ever be.
Absolutely. Has there ever been anything in wrestling that you wish you have done yet, or you have a bucket list of something you
Oh
want to
yeah,
do in wrestling? Oh,
two specific things: Tokyo Dome or the reverse steak jacket, and then Arena Mexico. Arena Mexico was my initial goal when I started wrestling. I was very grateful to have wrestled in the base arenas in the U.S. Yeah, I did Madison Square Garden a few times, so I'm grateful
mhm.
for that. But Arena Mexico is that's my number one.
Oh wow, and the Tokyo Dome too, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really fun
those
too.
those those two are absolutely great. I- Of all your matches, your favorite one that you've had?
My next one. No, there's a lot of different ones for different reasons.
Okay.
I'll always my time in WWE was amazing. I had a lot of matches on the indies that I loved. People that I just had an instant chemistry with. There's this guy named Jason Strife who passed away a couple of years. The first time we met in Southern California, we just hit it off. I had a couple of matches with Xavier Woods in FCW that I loved, and it was just because we just went and had fun and we did our thing. Um, Up to this point in time, I am still Bret Hart's last TV match. So that'll always be in my record book.
Wow.
So
Okay.
long as that stays, I will always be forever grateful for that. I got to wrestle John Cena, a few times. I got to wrestle Rey Mysterio a few times. I was one of the few that were selected to be married to Roman Reigns when he first started. And then to see where he's gone, obviously he's the tribal chief.
It's
Um, so that's kind of cool to observe. So I have different matches for different reasons.
Absolutely. Well, we got about 5 minutes left, and I'm gonna give you the floor I want you to promote Three Legacy Wrestling, which you have coming up. And so the floor is yours, sir.
So my promotion is Three Legacies Wrestling. We're based out of Lancaster, PA. We have been operating for the last 4 years, and we have our big WrestleMania, our biggest show of the year, which is called the Red Rose Rumble, and it's going to be the number 4 at the Penn Medicine Park on September 12th. I invite anybody in the area to come check it out. We will be having amazing guests. Victoria, Lisa Marie will be presenting the women's title that we'll be having our inaugural champion that day. We'll also have Tyler Breeze, Dango, so they will be united once again. Tommy Dreamer, yours truly will be in attendance as well. And also all the amazing talent from Three Legacies Wrestling and then the surrounding areas. So I definitely welcome everybody to come check out Three Legacies Wrestling on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Subscribe, please help us out. We also have a membership that's only 99 cents a month. It won't hurt you. So support independent wrestling. We're here, and obviously, of course, check out all the amazing talent at Major League Wrestling whenever we come to your town, or check us out on Facebook and also on YouTube at Major League Wrestling.
Absolutely, especially Saturday Night's Fusion.
Mhm.
6:05 right on YouTube. I always post 6:05 means wrestling on a Saturday night.
So now also too, something I want to add, whenever we add like Jesus Rodríguez, you can put producer or a match producer, talent, video editor for MLW, ring crew, backstage, runner. You can add a whole bunch of different listings of what my positions are at MLW. We're talking about wearing different hats in the past.
Oh, I've seen that up close. I mean, I thought I was running around in New York. Man, you were running around everywhere.
Yep.
Well, Jesus, thank you so much for joining me this week. It was that I'm finally glad that we were able to do this.
Absolutely.
Everyone, thank you for joining me this week. You can always catch it on WCBD Plus every Saturday and Sunday, and also on YouTube. This will be up the Monday following when it airs. So thank you so much for joining me this week, and I'll see you next week.